There's no getting around Father Time. The first thing you certainly notice, certainly as a man here in my middle age, is that, the loss of testosterone and some strength and stamina. Certainly you can try and minimize that with certain strategies, which I think I've done pretty well at. But so there's no surprise here in terms of that's something that happens to all of us. But just didn't wake up one day and all of a sudden on a bike ride discern, man, I don't feel as strong as I used to. It's a gradual process and takes time. But I did notice a few things happening. Certainly on my bike rides, longer efforts in particular, is that I didn't just power through it quite as easily as I might have in my younger days. So what did I do about it? The primary change, I think, has been really more closely monitoring my effort and my recovery. So we'll talk a little bit more in the video, a little bit about how I do that. So the next change I noticed is really just having more free time. This isn't unusual for someone entering their 60s. I'm fortunate enough to have retired in 2022. So for me, it's, was quite a change in terms of being able to all of a sudden not have to wait till after work or the weekends to get out and do a ride. So when I retired in May of 2022, my cycling for those first few months went through the roof because I had all this time and enthusiasm to do it. I'm finding more as I've aged. It's less about how fast I'm going, how far I'm going, how much am I going to push myself, how many kilometers am I doing this month or for the year. I do keep an eye on it, but I'm finding I'm a little less about the pain and suffering and more about the experiences. So, getting out and taking trips to go someplace for a day or an overnight or somewhere is becoming more important to me, where maybe when you have a bit more free time and a bit more disposable income, that you can get out and get those experiences and enjoy it. I really enjoy going, if you watch my channel, to really cool small towns and to hopefully have rail trails or really nice routes and make a day or two of it and enjoy the food and the restaurants and the scenery, and that's my kind of gig. I really enjoy that, and that's one thing I really appreciate about getting older, is actually having that time to do that. So there are times as well where I just leave my bike computer at home. Now I do like to track how far I go, so I might use my Garmin watch as my bike computer, just keep track of things. So I find de-emphasizing sometimes, again, the data and the metrics and performance is actually a nice way to do it, just to get out and go for a nice ride or go with a friend who's not as maybe fast as you or as experienced as you. Just go out and enjoy that day with them. So as I mentioned earlier, one thing I've really started to focus on is recovery. And as a middle-aged cyclist, that just becomes really important. And I've talked to some other fellow cyclists that are in my age group, and that's one thing they've all mentioned as well. Like, after a decently hard effort on the bike, it's taking a little bit longer to recover. So from big efforts, so that's important to keep an eye on. So how do I do that? Really, I do use data for that. I mean, I'm intuitive enough. Most of us can feel when we're tired or whatever, but I also do like to use, some of the data. So, mentioned Garmin products have been something I'm quite high on. I have some videos on my channel about that you can check out, and I think I'll work on a video here in terms of more specifically how I manage my recovery and my efforts using a heart rate monitor. So this Garmin watch I got a couple of years ago, it's a Garmin Vivo Active 4, has been great, and it has a heart rate monitor in it. That's kind of the basis for using the Garmin Connect program, which will measure all your sort of activities that you do, including as far as you're leaving it on your wrist, you'll get the measurements in terms of your intensity throughout your activities, daily, weekly, monthly, and annually. And I use that to kind of measure, how much effort I'm doing. So using the heart rate data, it can really help give you a measurement of intensity. There'll be something which you'll see here as you look through the app. It has intensity minutes, which again will measure how much intensity for adults. They say it should be at 150 minutes a week. So here's the Garmin Connect app open on my Android phone. So it lists what I've done today. So I did a gym workout. It shows my body battery that I've drained 41, so it shows you kind of your efforts and intensity at a glance. And you can set this up in the app how you want it. Really low in steps today. My average is normally around 12,000 because it's just a bad storm and I've been busy. Our heart rate, my resting heart rate, intensity minutes, which I talked about around here, your sleep, And then you can show yesterday what I did, the last 7 days, a little summary. And like I said, you can go and beyond and get much more data out of that. One thing I would really suggest if you don't have a heart rate monitor, you keep an eye on that just in terms of helping gauge your intensity. I'm using it a bit to train as well, to kind of, you can have programs within the watch. I can also set up alerts on my watch, for example, where it'll tell me if I'm getting up over 140 or 150 beats a minute. If you get cycling, you get out, you're not really paying attention, it'll alert you and say, okay, man, I need to back off here. So that's one thing I really feel that technology can work in your favor. So an example I've had in the past is on some, rides where they're longer or they're a bit more intense or more heat or whatever, is at the end of my rides when I record them, and Garmin will tell you your summary, is that I've had somewhere it's like an average heart rate of say over 140, tends to wipe me a bit. So I've noticed that as a trend by keeping an eye on the data, that if its average rate is over 140 over a 2-3 hour ride, it's taking me longer to recover. Now my Garmin Edge computer is kind of cool because it actually has a feature in it. Some of the Garmin products do, some don't, where you complete your ride, it'll tell you recovery time. So it looks at your heart rate data, your intensity of what you've done that week, and suggests you. So again, on some of those rides where I've kept quite a high average heart rate and effort in a longer ride, it will typically tell me no intense activity for like 4 days. So the next thing I've noticed since I've gotten into my 60s is craving a bit more simplicity. So over the past few years, I've only sort of got back into cycling maybe a little more than 10 years ago. But in that time, I've had 5 or 6 bikes. I started out with a hybrid, and it got stolen, I got another hybrid. That wasn't fast enough, it was too heavy, so I got a gravel bike, then I got a road bike, and then I got another gravel bike. So what I'm riding now, my Kona Rove, I have a review on that on my channel if you want to check it out. It's been a fantastic bike. So I tend to just use that now because it's kind of a bike that's simple to use. You can use it on the road. It's not the best for a road bike, but it's also, you can just go ahead and go off the road and go on a trail, and it handles it quite well because it's got room for good sized tires. It's quite comfortable. Again, the simplicity of just going to one bike now, one bike to store, one bike to service, has been something that's been appealing to me. Will I stay with that? I don't know. So my next point, and one you may have mentioned already, is about balance. I think a lot of us, as we get to our middle age, begin seeking balance. I know lots of women and men in particular who have been seeking out more wellness and meditation and trying to find a balance within their life as things begin to change. Kids leave home, things change, your body changes, you're in different financial situations, and retirement is either looming or is on the way, and health issues and whatnot. So I think people are finding a balance, and for me that's been the case as well. I mentioned about simplicity. Part of it is I've always believed in balance. Even the great Wayne Gretzky kind of believed that competitive kids, hockey players, shouldn't play in the summer. Like they should take off and do other sports. So I'm very much the same. Part of what my channel is about active fitness lifestyle. It's not cycling. That's kind of the thing that most people, I think, are enjoying, and I enjoy because it's very dynamic, and it's a bit more exciting to watch than hiking or weightlifting. But finding that balance in your life is important, and it certainly is very much applicable to cycling as well. So finding a balance of not always having to be on the bike. For example, this winter I haven't been out in months because I just don't feel like it. The weather's been cold and yucky, and I find it harder to breathe. And I'm not beating myself up over it. I'm still doing some spin classes. As you can see, I do some spin. I'm doing some weight training. I like doing yoga as well, and hiking. I go for a lot of hikes and take my daughter's dog, Darla's kind of been my unpaid retirement job. Walking her a couple of times a day is very, very enjoyable for me, and also helps keep me fit. So the last thing I really noticed, and it's quite an enjoyable one, is really, I'm a bit of a lone wolf, and I don't mind going out on lots of rides. I have a small friend group, don't get me wrong. I'm not antisocial or anything, but I have found, the last couple of years, really having the desire to cycle with others. So I try and make efforts to get out with mainly friends, and I belong to the local cycling club here and gone out on a few of them. I should do that a bit more. But I've been finding, I don't know if that's whether because I have more free time or aging or whatever it is, maybe being retired, I have that free time, might make more sense to get out and just meet with friends. I go out for coffees with friends, but also to get on the bike. So, a lot of my videos have featured going out with my friends, and getting out with them. And when I do that, what I like about it is it tends to be a nice, relaxed pace. We tend to just tone things down. We're on the bike. It's all about, the ride, and it's about talking and catching up, being social. The other thing I really like, if you see in my videos and my top rides of last year and the top rail trails, the top ones that kind of made that list typically were ones where there was a nice town involved. There was a place you could stop for, a nice coffee, or you could have lunch or grab a beer after on a hot day with your friend. That's what really makes this all worth it, and really, really gets my juices flowing for excitement about getting back on the bike. So those are just a few things I've noticed as I've entered into my 60s in terms of how cycling has changed a bit for me. The thing that hasn't changed is the joy and the love of getting out and enjoying seeing new things and seeing scenery, whether it's a trail you've been on dozens of times or a new community that you've really been amped up to go and see. Like I did this fall with, a little road trip and got onto 3 new trails that I really, really loved. That was so much fun and so much enjoyable. And it actually keeps me inspired to kind of, getting on the bike and making videos and share this with you. It's really what the intention of my channel was, is just to get information out to people in very cool places we have right here in our back door. And so if that is, of interest to you and you like that, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video. It really helps me to continue to get information out there and share with people some pretty cool things. Also, I'd love to hear from you in terms of what you thought of this list, things that maybe you found that are a little bit different, or your experiences as you begin to get into that middle-aged group in terms of, if your cycling has changed, what your priorities are, what you like to do and what you don't. I'd love to hear it. So thanks for watching. Take care.